good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or good night, whenever you're joining us for our discussion on Ignatian contemplation. And we've tried other types of prayer in class, mainly through our examination of conscience, where we recall what's happening to us or what's happened in our day and try to remember those times where we may have missed God. In gospel contemplation, we're not using ourself and our own memories as the basis, but we are imagining ourselves in gospel scenes. Now, this is going to be different probably from other forms of prayer like you might be used to, like meditation, where we kind of ponder great truths or ideas or nothingness at all. Most of people are usually triggered in their imagination through one of four ways. They're either kinesthetic imaginers, visual imaginers, auditory imaginers, or olfactory imaginers. So consider the following scenario for each of these. Let's say we're trying to recall the game from this last weekend. So if you're a kinesthetic imaginer, you're going to approach that and you're going to recall that game primarily through your own feelings and inner sensations, right? You might remember the intensity of the game or the euphoric nature of the crowd. If you're a visual imaginer, you're going to come through this very same thing through pictures. You might actually see the crowd yelling or be able to watch the winning play. If you're an auditory imaginer, the sounds of the game are going to be what's going to be triggering for you. The sound of the crowd yelling, or the slap of the ball on the backboard, or the swish as it goes through the net. Or if you're an olfactory imaginer, it's going to be the smells of the game, right? The sweat, the acrid sweat of the gym, or the smell of the leather or the wax on the gym floor. And those are going to be the things that will help push you back into the scene. And we're going to do the same thing when we do this with a gospel passage. And in order to do this, I want you to follow the following 5 steps. Now, this is a model. You can change it up a little bit as you need to, but this is kind of the basic way of doing it. So the first thing we're going to do is select a passage with action. This is not a time for a sermon or a parable. Watch characters in the Bible interact with each other. Step 2. We need to figure out what we're praying for and what we want. And we want to settle into God's presence. Where are we? How are we feeling? What do we need? What areas do we need help in and healing in? What are we looking for from Jesus in this experience? And then as we do that, we want to then start to read the passage. And we'll read it aloud once, letting ourselves focus on the details that most trigger our imaginations. Remember, those are going to be our feelings, the sights, the sounds, or the smells. And you're going to read it through a second time. Again, letting those same details, looking for more detail, sinking further and further into the scene. And then you'll let it sit, wait for 30 seconds up to a minute, and read it through a third time. Saturating your memory as much as you can with the events in the gospel passage. And then once you've done that, you want to sink into the scene. Don't try to promote anything or any developments. You're not in control of this. You want to watch what the gospel characters are doing. Let God speak to you through your own imagination. You're not Steven Spielberg. Don't direct the scenes. Don't force yourself to talk to people. Let everything come to you. You might find yourself in the boat with Jesus. You might find yourself as one of the disciples or Mary, but don't force it. Let it happen. Then, once you are in the scene, allow yourself to take part. Let the scene come to you. Let Jesus speak to you, or Mary, or one of the other disciples, or a member of the crowd, or the person, if you're doing a healing scene, who was just healed. Stay with them after Jesus moves on. Let them share their experience with you. But while you're doing this, don't try to make any applications. Don't moralize the scene. Don't try to think you need to be more spontaneous like Peter, or more resolute like Paul, or you should be more willing to suffer like Jesus, or have a better sense of righteousness. Just stay back and let the scene happen. Let your own imagination do its thing. There'll be plenty of time in step 7 for you to step back and review your prayer. And only do this once you're done with the prayer period. This will probably take you, we'll start with 20 minutes. You can go easily up to an hour if you're really getting into contemplation. And when you review it, you want to ask yourself a few things. First of all, what was the 1 or 2 things that you notice in your prayer? Where are your stronger feelings? And what have details or events brought about those feelings? Next, you want to say, is there some action or desire that you want to take after having done this prayer period? Maybe you need to go visit the Blessed Sacrament in the chapel, or you may find the need to go to confessions. And finally, you want to ask, what did you learn about Jesus and God? The whole point of using our imagination in this form of prayer is to learn something. It's to notice, to allow ourselves to use parts of ourselves that we don't often use. We don't want to overthink Jesus. Let God speak to your inner desires and feelings. So I hope this was helpful. As you go on, we're going to be trying some contemplations, and I wish you all the best of luck.